Hello and welcome to another of MEF Fireside Chat, the place where we speak with some of the CEOs, some of the senior leaders in the mobile ecosystem to understand them as a person rather than talking about products sometimes, and then eventually to understand how their companies might reflect their beliefs and their ways of looking at the world. Today, we have another very interesting discussion as we speak with the CEO and founder of Root Mobile, Rajdip Gupta. And Rajdip, I'd like to welcome you here at MEF. Good afternoon, Rajdip. Hello, how are you?
Thanks, Dario. I'm good. How about you?
Thank you. I'm doing great as well, Rajdip. It's a pleasure to have you here, and it's a pleasure to talk about Root Mobile and success in itself. We can easily say now that the market, the IPO in India, has shown how strong this company is right now, and growing from India to 18 offices worldwide, internationally, impressive KPIs, 35 billion billable items every month come through your systems. But let's talk about you as well before we talk about a lot of the success and how you built it. What is your secret recipe as a CEO, the founder and the CEO for the last 16 years of Root Mobile? How do you take something from startup to international player?
So I think when I co-founded Root Mobile 16 years back, there was always a dream for a tech founder to build something at one level and try to list the company. That is the highest level of achievement for any entrepreneurs in life. I do remember there are various offer we got from various company based out of West who were willing to acquire Root Mobile, but the conviction of building Root Mobile, very strong company based out of India, and I think I always worked towards that. And I wanted to create a value for my people also, because it is not about just creating wealth or a value for yourself as a leader. Where you need to create a value for your people who are working with you from a very long time, who always believe in your vision. So when you build a company, it is not about your individual CEO or a single person company. It is a set of people, the core team who spends lots of time with you and who actually drives the entire business along with you with the same vision. So I think it's more about creating that, first of all, reaching that goal in life to bootstrap it at the age of 28 and getting listed at the age of 45 actually. So it's a dream which I always thought about from day one, and I pursue my dream, and whatever required to achieve that. And I think I work very hard to get that along with my team members with their help.
Let me stop for a second on the IPO itself. Important for Root Mobile, important for yourself as a milestone, as you just said, but important for the entire market. All of these shows the importance of a communication provider as a service role in the international finance. Now, international, I should say, first of all, the size of the IPO, 600 kronas, Indian rupees, which is roughly $90 million, I believe. And that done with anchor investors such as Goldman Sachs and Franklin Templeton. I mean, we're talking about big names internationally. How did you get to build the IPO itself, and how difficult was to convince these big players about the market itself, about communication as a service?
So I think we were always I think we planned about our IPO 2 years back, and we always try to educate our investors. We met almost 200 investors all over the world, getting listed anywhere in the world is not easy job. There is a lots of people involved in it, there are lots of work required to be done, and I think number of meeting you have to attend in a day, like your day starts at 8 o'clock in the morning and it ends around 10 o'clock in the night. That's the kind of meeting you have to attend. Your road shows are very important. We had 2 round of road shows, and I think the before we were supposed to get launched our IPO in March to 2020. At the same time, the COVID happened. And I think maybe we can say that it's a advantage to Root Mobile, and digital penetration during the COVID time has accelerated a lot. People adopted the digital platform more than ever before, and that is the kind of potential investor has looked at Root Mobile, and they realize this kind of business model is going to survive in any condition. Like where our revenue is grown by 37% during the COVID time and during the pandemic time, and when we actually publish this data in front of our probable investors, they love the idea, they love the concept, and they realize this model is very strong and it can sustain for a longer period of time. And I think our growth during the pandemic time has actually helped us a lot to convince some of the large investor to come on board. And yeah, I think, and still we see the same kind of trajectory of growth, and we are growing very fast. And this growth is going to continue because of the new edge technologies which we are working on right now. And investors do see lots of potential in Root Mobile in terms of our platform play, where we are not just a messaging company. We are talking about RCS, we're talking about WhatsApp for business, we're talking about voice solutions. So it's a complete CPaaS offering, which we are targeting right now. And we do see a huge potential in coming months or year, coming apart from single plain vanilla messaging. I think the RCS or WhatsApp for business will add definitely lots of revenue potential in coming years.
So
And that's why I
looking at
think,
the future, a very positive one. But I'd like to go back on something you mentioned, which is more about yourself. So I would define you as a young CEO at 44, 45, which is, even if you round it up, you still sound a very young, you look a very young CEO, but 16, almost 17 years old in your position. Tell us, this is quite a remarkable figure. So how have you changed, first of all, in the 16 years old as a CEO? What have you learned? What have you done to become today's Rajdip Gupta?
So Dave, I think in last 16 year, I think every year I spend with Root Mobile, like it's always a roller coaster ride for me. Like it's not that for an entrepreneur every day you come to office you have a very lucky day. There are so many challenges you have to face. There are so many issues. There are so many things happens globally when you operate in 18 countries. When you work with more than 300 people. So I think what I learned in last 16, 17 years is being a patient is a key for your success. You cannot just expect everything the way you want. Things can change. Like I'm talking about this COVID situation. We were about to launch our IPO in March, and the COVID happened. So I think one thing which I learned in last 16 years is like uh, your growth is only possible when you have a great team along with you, and the trust in team. I think that you need to believe in your team also. It is not about your own vision. It is a vision what is gets driven by your team members, and you need to be little patient, and you believe in your conviction, the conviction of doing something different, and conviction of whatever you're building for your end customer is going to work. So I think that conviction I always had in my mind, that whatever I'm trying to create for enterprise customer or OTT players or operators, this will work. And if you even if you see my acquisition, like almost all the acquisition has really worked well for Root Mobile. So understanding the market is a key area during the last 16, 17 years, because I knew RCS is going to come. I knew that WhatsApp is going to come. So disruption is a key, and anytime technology can disrupt. And as a tech founder, you need to be on your toes every day to understand what is next going to be there. If you really want to build something, like one thing I realized, you need to keep on innovating. Without innovation, there is no life, at least in any kind of technology company. So I think one thing I learned, and also I still have, is a fear of failure in my mind. So every day when I get up, I come up with that option. What if I'm building it may fail? And I think keeping that in mind, I really work hard, and I motivate my people also to make sure whatever you guys are building will not last for long. You have to rebuild again, and you have to keep on innovating.
It's the second and maybe the third time which you mention people and how important people are. So let me ask you, Rashdeep, is there a specific type of employee that is fits perfectly Root Mobile? What are you looking for when recruiting somebody? Is it something in culture? Is it something in the way they look at the world?
So I think the people is a key for any organization, Dario. It is not about Root Mobile only. I think most of the successful organization, if you see, it is not the just a CEO who drives the company. There are a set of people who support CEO vision also. I think the of culture is also very important. Like Root Mobile is a very flat organization. Where we don't believe in that kind of reporting hierarchy. Like anybody can reach to uh, um, uh, I'm approachable by everyone in the office, like whether you are level 2 or level 3 or level 4. And I think that is the kind of culture we have. Like I'm working with my team on the floor, and I just keep on interacting with everyone. I think that confident level within your employees should be there, that your senior team members or the founders are also believe in your work. And I think appreciating them at the time to time, and making sure that whatever achievement you achieve in life, you always share with them. And I think that is what the main key for everywhere, most of the companies who are successful. Because if you see, there is a definitely, we always focus on level 2, like when they say CEO, then level 2 people. And I think sometimes some companies only try to focus on level 2, but most of the work is done by level 3 and level 4 people in your organization, because they may be your support guys, they may be your operations guys. And I think they are the most critical people in your organization. And I think you also need to understand them well, and where exactly the problems are, and how exactly. So I spend lots of time sitting with my technology team. I spend do lots of brainstorming with them. I sit with all their product uh, ideation. Like, so I need to understand how they think. Like maybe I'm getting older, but the new brains out there are thinking differently. Like I used to do programming in COBOL and Pascal and Oracle during that time. Now the programming is changed to Python, which is completely different. But end of the day, it's the same programming language, right? So I understand what they talk. So it's very easy for me to understand or maybe guide them, whatever. And I think that input is very, very important for new team members. If a founder or CEO sitting with you and trying to help you, oh, this can be like this. I'm just sharing my experience with my new team members, which actually help them to motivate by themselves. Right? If a CEO of a company sitting next to them and trying to help them, like how to solve the problem. So I think these are the few things very important, and that's why I believe the people of any organization, they build organization or company. Without people, you can't think even to be a successful.
You've just mentioned your background right now, your computer science degree. How much does being a developer help you today in your role?
Yeah, yeah. So I think the biggest advantage I have, Dario, when I started my career I think I co-founded Root Mobile in 2003, 2004. Prior to that, I worked almost 7 years with various companies as a software developer. Like, and one point of time, I believe that I had a little bit, or maybe a good knowledge about programming during that time. And the reason I wanted to create my own platform by myself. So the entire platform, what Root Mobile has now, I think the initial coding is done by myself. So I built the entire platform. Like using a second-hand PC, which I bought from a friend. So I think the total investment in Root Mobile is just $2,000. The entire Root Mobile is built with just $2,000. We never raise fund. That's another success part. Why? Because we never raise fund, because we are always cash rich. We are generating enough cash. In fact, we acquired 3 companies with our internal accruals. So I think the technology background will always help you to understand the innovation. Like if the moment Google started talking about RCS, or Facebook started talking about WhatsApp for business or Viber for business, it's very easy for me to understand what they're talking about, and how exactly we need to plan. So being a tech background, I think technology adoption by a company is far easier than anybody else who's not belong to technology background. And I think most of the CEO now, if in the CPaaS, if you see that, I think they are a tech background, and so learning about more about strategy, you can always get through experience, but if you're already a technology tech background, you can always try to support or build something which you need to, because end of the day, the competition is very high in the market. You need to be little bit different in terms of your bespoke solution you need to create for enterprise customer. And you need to be better than others sometime, or you maybe at least the same as what others are, so you have to match the quality. So I think when we talk about we are competing directly with most of the CPaaS players based out of US or Europe. So I think we need to be also as good as them. So the technology definitely plays a big role, and understanding the market is something really helped me to exactly what to build and how to build.
So let's talk about your early years, because you didn't start in communication, but you started in some other very hot topics still. You were a developer for online learning, for smart devices, for IoT services. So some of those, top range areas where everybody is interested in. But you were also interested in, you made decided to make a switch to communication service provision, to CPaaS. Why? What interested you in this market?
So in 2003, I realized the mobile penetration, like is going to be really big in coming years down the line. During 2003, it was not that big in emerging countries like India or Africa or Asian countries. Like maybe adoption of mobile penetration is very high in developed countries. So I realized one thing: if I want to create something in this space, which is going to be really big in coming years down the line, and the communication is one space where I think during that time I realized the email is the only way people can communicate with each other. In 2003, like there was no alert mechanism developed within Asia or Africa to send SMS for A2P kind of scenario. So keeping that in mind, and I realized there are few companies based out of Europe. They were doing this kind of activity, and I realized I think this is a great thing to do. But if I want to do a startup, I cannot start that in Europe. I have to go back to India because of the cost effectiveness, and if I'm just bootstrapping a company with $2,000, I need to make sure that I build everything myself first. Then I start hiring people. So I think the potential of communication space I realized in 2003, and I always knew that this is going to be the next big space.
You've mentioned in some of the acquisitions before. I count at least seven between mergers and acquisition for growth and road mobile, for SMS firewalls, 365 Square, call to connect, a lot of things that build up your weapons over time. But how important it is for a company to acquire something externally, and where do you make decisions between growing and acquiring?
So see, there is a two way to say it. Like for an entrepreneur or a founder, I think one thing is either you buy or build. So there is a two way to create a market. Like or so there has to be to build. It may take long time, sometime. To buy it is shorter, period. So the question is like what you exactly want to buy. First of all, you need to understand what you have and what you don't have. So I think in 2017 we realized we are working very closely with various operators globally, and in terms of A2P messaging, we are just buying SMSs from them. Like, so I thought, why can't I create something which using which I can start selling to operator? And keeping that in mind, we acquired 365 Squad in 2017 because they had a firewall and analytics tool, and I think we were working very closely with operators in India, Africa, and they already installed their firewall with 3 or 4 operators in Asian countries. So I think instead of we get into building the entire software stack, may take us some time, but instead of that, we realized let's buy a company who's already in this space. And I think the moment we acquired 365 Squared, our revenue has grown multifold. And I think that integration with Root Mobile has helped us to win some of the large operator contract, whether it's in India or Bangladesh or Latin America. So I think for me, I didn't have much of time during that time. So I realized I think it's a time to acquire a company. And that is one of the fastest way to grow also, because the market or the technology is really evolving very fast as of now. And you can always build something which is new, but you cannot, if you want to compete with others in market who already have 3 to 4 years of experience on the same space, you can't build, you have to acquire. And keeping that in mind, we acquired these companies.
We have seen a lot of mergers and acquisition in this market, in the market for CPaaS. Without wanting to ask uh, too sensitive information, where do you see Root Mobile in the big order of mergers and acquisitions. Um, and in future, are we gonna see two, three, four companies worldwide for doing CPaaS? How many will be left in the end?
So I think it's a great space to be, right? Like I think we are fortunate to uh, share that. I think communication space or CPaaS space is the way it is growing. Like I'll just share you small information. I think till last 1 year back, India used to be just 400 to $500 million market. Within a year, India has increased to a $1 billion market. So the amount of digital penetration, amount of digital adoption is happening right now. And if the emerging countries like Asia, Africa, I think most of the people now have the access of smartphone, so that will actually help more amount of penetration. So acquisition is more about to gain the market share, is the fastest way. If somebody wants to come from Europe or US to say India or in Africa, they will really take time to build the market, to get into enterprise base. So I think the easiest way for people to increase their market share is to acquire. That's what people are doing it. And as a company, we also raise fund, and we are also very keen to acquire few companies in different space. And I think uh, not two or three, but I believe in some few year down the line, we may have about 7 or 8 CPaaS, global CPaaS player. That's what I can foresee. You know.
Hmm. Well, we'll wait 7 to 8, and I seem to read through the lines that you expect Root Mobile to be one of those, but or we will see.
Definitely, we are. Yeah.
Then my question to something you mentioned as well, and which I found it was very interesting, is the sense that you're one step from the greatness of this market, one step from failure with the disruptions and so on. You say you have to be always on your toes. Um, what are you afraid of right now?
Sorry, I didn't get it.
What are you afraid? What's the biggest disruption? What are you thinking that might happen there in the market? We survived
So
COVID so
I
far.
think, yeah, I think for me, I think I always believe that technology is one area which can be disrupted anytime. Like I think we all knew that telecom operator lost their revenue, voice revenue, because of WhatsApp call, and it happens overnight. And so now the operators are looking out to various mode of revenue, because they are not making much of revenue from voice, because most of us stop using normal GSM band to call. We're just using WhatsApp call, right? So I think technology is one area which is going to change every 2 years down the line, or 3 years down the line. Something new will keep on coming. But again, the communication channel or the mode will remain the same. People will say that message SMS will die. I think that's not the right way to think about it. SMS will evolve to SMS 2.0, which means that till now, if you say SMS is just one-way communication, it will become two-way communication, where you can actually using a plain vanilla SMS, you can interact with a brand, or you can interact with the end user. That's exactly what RCS is going to be look like, right? So companies who are already involved in this space as a aggregator, they are only going to get more benefit from all these new technologies. So as a company, or as a organization, you always need to keep your mind open to keep on innovating. Make sure what is new coming in the market. You make sure that you are always there to understand the market or enterprise requirement. And that is what the key area. So technology can disrupt anytime, and being a tech company, I think we all need to focus more on adding new product line offering within our product portfolio, so that if there's any change in technology offering, you are ready with the option.
Let's move back to you personally. 16 years, almost 17, as a CEO. That's a remarkable amount. And enough to probably ask, what do you see coming next for Root Mobile and for you?
So I think 16 years is a very, very interesting journey for me, and I can say that I'm most satisfied, one of the satisfied uh, founder, you can say that. And whatever I have achieved, I think I still feel that it's very hard to achieve. There are very few companies who have done this, and in India there are only 4,000 companies who are listed, and we are one of them out of millions of companies based out of India. So I think it is one of the uh, achievement for me to start a company at 28 and get listed at 45, and 16 year down the line, I think I actually don't know how the technology is going to evolve in uh, 16 year down the line, how IoT is going to play what role, and how the blockchain is going to evolve. And but end of the day, the communication space is going to remain the same. People will interact more using the digital platform. So the adoption of digital platform and digital acceleration is going to be the key for even next 16 years. I think more and more communication will start happening through the mobile devices, and I think technology will be changed from here and there. But I see a huge potential in next 16 years down the line, and I think IoT or blockchain could be the future in coming years down the line.
We've talked quite a bit about the business and yourself, and after all, you started 17 years ago with $2,000. You made it a company quoted and worth hundreds of millions now. But let's talk about what is important for you outside of business.
Yeah, I think I'm a proud father. I can say that I have three daughters, and all of them are very lovely and very caring. And I think apart from my office work, I think I have a beautiful family, and I try to spend most of the time with them. And I really am thankful to this kind of. Sometimes I think that because of this pandemic situation, we end up spending more time with our family. And I realized I think I missed few things in life in last 16 years. It was lots of compromise, or but now within from last 7 8 months, I think the amount of time we spend with I spend with my family, I think I'm very grateful for my family members to at least understand me, because sometime being a founder or entrepreneur, you end up spending lots of time in traveling, lots of time in meetings. So I think but I always try to balance both the side of this, like family and work. But I think as a family, I'm a person who believes in joint family. Being in India, I think we are two brothers. We both live together, and the kind of love and affection we have, we all the entire family sits together and have lunch, dinner, especially together. We all are at home. So I think that's a very different feeling when you come back and you spend your time with your family. And I think I'm very grateful to God also. Like thanks for everything what I achieved, and I give my sometime I give my all my credit to my family also, because they have supported me a lot.
Oh, great. So the importance of a balanced life and rediscovering some of the pleasures nowadays. That's very important. And I think on that note, I think I would subscribe to that as well. Well, one of the good things coming from the terrible situations we've experienced with the pandemic in the last few months. Well, so on that positive note, on that very nice familiar note, I will conclude it here, and I'd like to thank you again, Rajdip, for finding the time to talk about it, not just the company, but a bit of your life as well. So thanks again, and I'm sure
Thanks,
we'll
everyone.
meet you and discuss more in future in our different discussions on that. So thank you again.
Thank you, Rajan. Thank you. Take care.
That concludes another one of our fireside chat, another interesting look at the people behind the companies that we do know in these markets. I'd like to thank you all for being here, and I'm sure we're going to have another excuse to come and discuss with many of the key makers in this area. If you would like to do so, please subscribe to our emails and do check our website at www.mobileecosystemforum.com. Thank you again. Bye-bye from me.